Okay, I think we're ready. We're going to start the webinar off with Michelle Anderson from Diem Technology. So, Michelle, I'll hand it over to you.
Thank you, Kent. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today on the benefits of automating your accounts payable process. As Kent mentioned, my name is Michelle Anderson. I am an account manager here at Diem Technologies. Joining us today from SIGEN is John Sutton. Just a few housekeeping notes real fast. The call is being recorded, so all lines have been muted. You can post questions anytime in the questions section of the GoToWebinar control panel, and we'll address as many as we can at the end of the presentation. The webinar is also being recorded and posted on our YouTube site later this afternoon. You can find that at www.youtube.com/allthingsfax. Before we begin, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about us. Diem Technologies was founded in 1990 in Richardson, Texas. We soon became one of the first WriteFax Platinum partners and authorized support providers offering first-line support on WriteFax. Our areas of expertise include offerings such as OpenText WriteFax, cloud and hybrid fax solutions, advanced document capture solutions like SIGEN, document management, workflow, secure mail, and managed file transfer. Today we will specifically focus on the benefits that advanced capture solutions like SIGEN provide to the accounts payable process. And at this time, I'll hand it over to John Sutton of SIGEN to present to us more about the benefits of automating your accounts payable process.
Thank you, Michelle. This is John Sutton with SIGEN Software, and we're going to take a moment to go over, again, some of the benefits of automating your capture process. Now, SIGEN is a company focused on document and information capture. And I'm going to just share my screen with you guys for just a moment. And there are several options that you can entertain as it relates to document capture and information capture. We're going to go through a few of those today. Now, the first thing that I always like to do is define the difference between capture and scanning. Many of you will be very familiar with scanning. You're just taking a sheet of paper and converting it from its physical form to a digital form. And that works very well if your volume is low and or if your complexity requirements are minimal. However, there comes a point in time where you really need to raise the bar. That's where capture comes into play. And through capture, you can essentially interrogate the information contained within the documents that you're scanning and or importing. And through that interrogation, we can target data or values that are meaningful to you, automatically extract those values, and then do something meaningful with the output or the finished product, meaning that we can automatically use that information, that data, to index documents and maybe route that to a document management system that you may have. Maybe you want us to drop the scanned images into a folder somewhere on the network. We can use that data to automatically customize the file naming convention for those documents. You may want us to also take that extracted data and push it to a database or a core line of business application. We can do that. Or we can even email documents on the fly. So again, it's going to open up a whole host of options that allow you to essentially slice and dice the information contained within the documents that you're handling. Now, with AP, there's a cost to not having automation in place. It adds up with every single invoice that you process, and that number is compounded over time because the way that you have to make life easier and make your processes faster is that you have to throw people at the problem. So, again, the clock works against you. In the example that I have on the screen, and these are probably very conservative numbers, if I had to file 100 documents a day, and it takes an average of 6 minutes or so to file those documents, we're talking about over $3,000 in expense in an average working month. Again, these are probably pretty conservative numbers, but again, there's a cost to not having some sort of solution in place. Now, the way that we want to help you guys make life easier is really through a threefold process. The first thing that we want to do is work with you to look at and standardize your capture platform. Now, when I say capture platform, most of you will be familiar with the use of locally attached devices like desktop scanners. And by the way, we are hardware agnostic. You can work with virtually any type or make or model of scan device. But also, you can leverage options outside of that by using your network-enabled devices like copiers. Many organizations have copiers that have the ability to scan the folders on the network, and our offering can monitor and pick up information from any number of folders. So you can now leverage those as entry points into your overall capture solution. You may also have a communal drive in place, like an M drive or a P drive or what have you, and maybe over time you've been scanning and storing documents there. I often get the question, hey John, am I going to have to print everything on the M drive to scan to process? The answer to that question is no. You simply point the offering to the top level of that structure, and we're going to automatically ingest and process those documents accordingly as well. So again, it really doesn't matter where you get that information from. We're going to give you options. Now, from a processing standpoint, we're going to use a varied number and type of methods to perform that document interrogation that I mentioned earlier, to look for and target those important values and then ultimately extract those guys. And then we're going to empower you to also publish, or what we call migrate, the finished product to the back-end destination of your choosing, whether that's, again, a document management system, folder structure, email, you name it. So the equation here is simple. We want to give you options as to how you intake your documents, whether that's from a copier, a scanner, a server, or just about anywhere else. Run those documents through our process, and then output the finished product to anywhere that you would like. And again, that's going to open up a whole realm of possibilities that you guys may not have in place right now. Now, I often get the question, hey John, that sounds great. Can you give me some examples of who uses your stuff? Now, the cool thing about the offering is we can very easily service that one or two person, low volume, low complexity operation. But at the same time, the same product can easily scale upward to accommodate the needs of true enterprise level accounts like a Microsoft or Visa, Steinmart, Boeing, Shell, or really anything in between. So as your needs grow and change, the product or the offering can easily accommodate that growth and that change. From an AP standpoint, here's one quick example of how the solution can bring some benefit to the table. We had a client that needed to do some invoice processing. They happen to have SharePoint as their repository. Again, from our standpoint, it could be anything. But what we were able to enable for them was the ability to scan on their existing scan devices, have our product go through and interrogate the documents to extract. In their case, they wanted to find the invoice number, and then take that value, that invoice number, and create a PDF, in their case, and send it automatically to SharePoint. So as a user, all they had to do was scan their documents and walk away, and the solution handled the remainder of the process all the way to completion. Now, the way that we make that happen is through various methods of interrogation or recognition. You may have documents that have handprint text on them. We have an option that allows us to read handprint text as well, too. You may have use cases where this sort of option could be beneficial. You may also have documents that have barcodes, or maybe you want to leverage barcodes as a part of your overall solution. We can read virtually any type of barcode, extract data from these guys, and use that information to do things like indexing documents, maybe even triggering document separation so that you can scan one complete stack of correspondence and have, the files split accordingly, or just about anything else that you can think of. Also, you can leverage what's called OMR, or optical mark recognition, to build things like cover sheets. In this case, I'd print this cover sheet out and place this beside all of the scan locations, and then if you wanted to automatically scan and route anything, you just pick this guy up and draw an X or check the box or color it in or bubble it in, place it on top of your correspondence, scan, and walk away. And based on the marks that have been made, we're going to A, know what needs to be done and what needs to be extracted, and then B, where the finished output needs to be sent. So again, it's a very easy way of implementing the solution. Now, the core of what we do, and you guys are going to see this today, is called ADE, and that stands for Advanced Data Extraction. The reason this is important is because if I need to extract any value from any document, I'm going to look at the pattern of the information that we need to extract rather than the physical location or the zone. An example of that would be if you needed me to extract, I don't know, a social security number. I'm going to say software, rather than looking up at the right-hand corner of each page, because maybe on the next page or within the next document, that social moves around and it could be at the bottom left on another page. In order to overcome that issue, I'm going to say, look for a pattern in the text software that happens to be 3 numeric - 2 numeric - 4. So now the cool thing is, it doesn't matter how that information moves about. I'm going to be able to find and ultimately extract that value. And then in this case, I can just populate, the applicable fields and then move the documents about to whatever the final destination needs to be. Now, once that's complete, we need to send the finished product somewhere. That's what we call a migration. A migration is our verbiage for an integration into a third-party application. Again, that could be a database, folder structure, document management system, or what have you. But I can actually, if necessary, push the finished product to multiple destinations at the same time. So we can store that in your document management system, populate a folder structure, send you a text file of the data itself, or maybe take that data and push it to your back-end database or your ERP system or what have you, all in one pass. So you capture once, you process once, but you can migrate to multiple destinations simultaneously. Here are a few examples of some of the back-end systems that we integrate with. This is not all of them, but I like to really give a sampling to show the diversity of the output, meaning that whichever system you have in place, it's very likely that we can integrate with it. So again, that's going to open up some options for you. And the company was founded in 1995, so we're very mature in the capture space. There are 3 things that we focus heavily on. The first is innovation. We can do things that our competitors simply cannot do. The second is volume. Even though we can service that low volume, low complexity operation that I mentioned earlier, at the same time, we have clients that literally push millions of pages through our products every single day. The third is automation. We truly understand that the more we empower you guys to automate your processes, the more time, resources, effort, and ultimately money you're going to save. Today, we currently integrate with 63 different back-end systems. That number continues to grow all the time. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and dive into a demonstration of the offering. So the name of our flagship product is called SciCapture. I'm going to show you guys a couple different options today because we also have a web-based option called Sitefusion. Now, Sitefusion will take the indexing, the queuing, and the quality assurance pieces of SciCapture. It's going to push that functionality to a browser. You guys may have use cases where that sort of option would be beneficial. So I want to show you a little bit of both. Now, this is our workspace. This is where the results of any action that I take will be displayed. And on the left-hand side, these are the modules that are available to me for functionality. These can be turned on or off through security. So if you don't want me to do indexing, QA, classification, or what have you, when I log into the product, I will not see these available. We do have our own security scheme, but at the same time, we also integrate with both Active Directory and LDAP. That basically means that we have the ability to easily adhere to any security policies that your organization may have in place. Now I'm going to go ahead and kick off a process here and bring in some sample documents. Now the first thing I want you guys to notice is this little window, this little box that pops up. This contains a list of our document types, or doc types for short. Document types are what we call our templates. And the cool thing is you can have as many document types as you would like. They can pertain to anything that you would like them to. And document types can run simultaneously, meaning that you can have different document types servicing different areas of your organization at the same time. So this really becomes, the hub of capture activity. There are also no limits to the number and or type of index values that you guys could associate with any one particular document type. So this is really a blank piece of clay that you guys can make and mold in any way that you see fit. Now I'm going to bring in a stack of invoices. And as I do this, I'm going to talk through the process and explain to you what's going to be happening behind the scenes. I like to show invoices because, as you guys well know, with AP and software, there are usually some challenges, such as, no two companies design their invoices alike, so they're usually different in structure from company to company. Yet the information that I want from these guys, well, that's pretty common. They all have, header information like the vendor name, the address, invoice number, but I also want to extract that line item detail. That's very difficult for software to do, but I'm going to show you a way that we're going to make that happen. Another challenge with AP automation, in particular with invoices, is determining where invoice set 1 stops and invoice set 2 begins, because this could be a single-page invoice or it could be a multiple-page invoice set. Also, capturing this line item detail could be difficult because, the description, for instance, could start at the bottom of page 1 and spill over to the top of page 2. We have a way of accounting for that and overcoming that issue. So I'm going to run this and, again, just kind of talk through the process. Now, typically, you would separate these by vendor and scan them individually so that you can process them individually. I've not done that. I'm going to automatically classify the documents, meaning that the software is going to look at each page of each document to determine, which vendor it is. So this could be, ABC vendor, and then the software is going to go, wait a minute, but behind, this guy, the very next page is, CDF vendor. So it's going to look at each page, identify what goes where, and sort them out accordingly. The next thing that happens is the software is going to go through and go, okay, well, for the U.S. air conditioning distributors vendor, I need to look for these things. For Granger, I need to look for something else. So it's going to index the documents accordingly by looking for these patterns that I was talking about earlier. And then it's going to produce the finished output of both the images and the data. It's actually taken me longer to talk about it and explain it than it did to actually run it and do it. It's actually complete. You'll notice that I have a bunch of single-page invoices, but I also have a couple of multi-page invoices. Now, from a data standpoint, I'm going to focus on that for just a second here. You'll notice that all of the line item detail has been extracted. Now, the way that I made this happen is I told the product to do that pattern matching that I talked about earlier. And by that I mean I said, okay, and I'm going to use invoice number as an example. I said, software, look for all of the different ways that invoice could potentially show up on a document. So look for invoice, invoice number, invoice num, invoice NO, invoice pound, INV pound, all those variants. And then if you see that information anywhere on any page, whenever you get a hit, look to the top, bottom, left, or right. That's how I'm able to extract all of these values. I'm just repeating that process for the remaining fields. Again, the benefit here, though, is I can very easily and quickly train my users on how to use the solution because they're just scanning documents and they're walking away. And they don't necessarily have to put the documents in any particular order because the software is going to A, identify what the documents are, and B, process them accordingly. And then from here, you can choose what happens with both the images and the data. As I mentioned earlier, I could very easily use any or all of these values to index these documents and then send the finished product to a document management system. Maybe you want me to take these guys and give them custom file names, maybe, I don't know, vendor name underscore invoice number underscore invoice date.pdf or what have you, and drop this into a folder structure. And by the way, if the folder structure doesn't currently exist, we can actually build that structure on the fly. You may also say, hey, John, I got a presentation coming up, and this is like exactly the data that I need. Can you just give me a flat file of that output? And I'm going to say, yeah. And from here, you can quickly and easily sort this information. You can clean it up. You can do virtually anything that you want to do with it. Or you might also want me to just take this data and push it to your core line of business application. In this case, it'd be an accounting system. Or all of the above. So as I mentioned before, you've got options over what you do with both the images and the data at all times. Now, one other alternative that I want to show to you is Sitefusion. Again, Sitefusion is our web-based option. Now, the benefit of this is it allows you to handle capture in a distributed fashion. And by that I mean, maybe you want to do indexing from home. Maybe you outsource your indexing to a third party. Or maybe you want to deploy the functionality throughout the organization without having to load software on every single PC. I'm going to show you how we're going to accommodate that. Well, if I can spell today. Let me get logged in. So with Sitefusion, what you see is a very simple and very clean interface. It's designed to be very simple because not everyone has the same level of technical ability. So it's easy to pick up. You've got the documents on the left-hand side that you have to work with. This is your document queue. Then you have the invoices associated with that particular document. Then you have the documents themselves. If you have multiple monitors, you can float the windows, you can move things about, you can situate things in really just about any way that you'd like to. If you have multi-page documents, obviously I can view each individual page. I could also rotate the documents, delete pages, or delete the entire document if I needed to. If I needed to zoom in or out, no problem. I can do that as well. Now, it's a very simple workflow here in that I'm going to choose my first document, and you'll notice I've got some information automatically populated here. That's because I've had SciCapture basically take the first pass at the documents, and now I just need to fill in the remainders. Now, I've got drop-down functionality and list functionality. I also have type-ahead functionality so that as I type, the product narrows down my choices. If I needed to actually just manually type in a field, I could do that as well too. And once I'm done, I'm going to click Save. That document goes to its final destination, and I'm presented with the next document in the queue. Once I've handled all of these and the queue is empty, I'm good to go. Maybe, I go to lunch, I take a break. When I come back, I can hit the refresh button, and any documents that have been added to my queue will show up. The benefit of this offering, though, is I'm going to have these features available to me from anywhere that I have browser access. So I could be at the office. I could be, at home. I could be on the road and do the work from a hotel room. Anywhere that I have browser functionality, I can have these features and these benefits available. Also, one other positive here is if I needed to route a document to someone else, maybe someone sent me the wrong document, if I click Edit right here, I've got an option that allows me to send that document to another person's queue. There's also the notion of teams, meaning that if you are a supervisor and I'm on your team, and let's say I'm out of the office today, maybe I'm sick, you could actually log into my queue, do the work yourself, or you could take the work that I have and distribute that amongst the other members of the team. So again, this gives you a very simple and easy way of accomplishing the goal, but doing it in a manner that's very intuitive and user-friendly. So with that, Ken, I'll go ahead and pass the baton back to you and see if we have any questions that we need to field. I'm sorry, Michelle, I'll go ahead and pass the baton to you, and you can go ahead and poll the audience to see if there are any questions that we need to answer.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that information, John. And thank you, everyone, again, for joining our webinar today. We do hope it was beneficial. If you're not sure who your account manager is and you have questions about SIGEN or any of our other product offerings, feel free to call us at 877-669-3700, or you can email info@diem.com and you'll be routed accordingly. With that, we'd like to go ahead and offer you to post your questions at this time.
Michelle, I don't see any questions yet, and just a reminder to everyone, if you want to post a question, go to the GoToWebinar bar off to the right side of your screen, and there should be a question section where you can type it in. And I just saw somebody put their hand up, so I'm guessing they're going to type in a question. So one sec.
Okay, so Ken said that there was one question about, what is the process to receive the invoices or to get them into the product. There are multiple ways. You can obviously use a locally attached scanner, so you can scan directly into the product. We also have the ability to monitor folders. So if you have invoices that you receive electronically, maybe they're PDFs and you got them via email, you're just going to copy those to a folder that our product will watch, and anything that hits those folders we will pick up and process automatically. We also have write-fax integration. So if you guys have a fax server, we can build a process that integrates with that product to monitor anything that comes in and route it to us automatically. So again, there are multiple different ways of getting the information into SiteCapture so that it can be processed.
That looks like all of our questions for today. Hold on, we might have one more.
So someone wants to know if the product works with Great Plains. Great Plains has a Microsoft SQL backend database. We have a SQL driver out of the box. So the short answer to that question is yes. Through that functionality, we can obviously query anything in the database, but we can also push directly to Great Plains as well. Now, if you wanted us to also push the data to an alternate location, maybe a staging database, so that you can report against that or massage the data, we can do that as well. So again, we can offer you multiple options as it relates to talking to Great Plains.
And John, I have one more for you. The question is, can the invoice number be changed once the document has been scanned? For example, if our software only allows a certain number of invoice number characters.
Yes. So that's actually a very good question. We can do data filtering on the fly. So, and a good example of that would be date. Let's say we extract a date that's 2-digit month, day, and year, but yet your accounting system would like to see the data presented as 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and 4-digit year. We can automatically convert as necessary on the fly. So yes, that's a very good question.
Okay, I think that's it. And if there are any additional questions that you want us to follow up with, you can email us info@diem.com, and we'll get those answered for you and go from there. We really appreciate your time and attendance today, and we look forward to talking to you soon. Have a great day.